This is the village of Mulranny. This is the view from the John Lennon suite. And that's the view 3 hours later. This is a village which lost its population in the potato famine. It went from 500 to 250. And a hotel was built, but by the year 2004, the hotel was bankrupt, destroyed, the railroad was torn up. It was a miserable place. But somebody invested in 2005, that's only 10 years ago, in the new hotel, and they decided, the villagers, to build themselves a reputation on heritage as an industry. And then they decided to make a bicycle path from the old railroad. And all of a sudden, 250,000 people discovered this place. And they've won all kinds of prizes. And this, in the lower left, is Orla Murphy. She's a professor of architecture at University College London. And I had lectured there, and she called me and said, we want to make an arrangement with this village as a study focus for 5 years. Let's do a workshop.
As part of an ongoing collaboration between Mulranny and UCD, we wanted to explore whether community-led design might have a role to play in shaping the future of Mulranny village and its surrounding landscape. Mulranny faces particular challenges and opportunities over the next 20 to 50 years, including how its population base might grow and how it might expand local enterprise while safeguarding its extraordinary natural landscape. How might it better and more efficiently use its local natural resources, including water, access to the coast and the sea, and energy? Geodesign seemed like a challenging and appropriate way to try to test some of these challenges and to bring together really rich local community knowledge together with external experts and members of the local authority from architecture, planning, engineering, and for those three cohorts to come together to try to address some of the challenges facing the community.
And there are the villagers making their designs. We taught them in 1 hour how to make a diagram. And this is the most important thing. They refused to use GIS because they said nobody in GIS knows the data that we know, having lived here for several generations. So what they did was they took 10 big maps, divided into 10 expert teams, and the expert teams made their notes on the maps. It's a GIS, but it's an analog GIS. And then on the first hour of the workshop, they drew the equivalent of a GIS map by hand and made these evaluation maps. It took them 1 hour. Then each expert team produced 10 or so diagrams, and then we divided them into socially defined groups: environment, old people, young people, tourism, agriculture, and enterprise. And the farmers became the agriculture team. The tourist operators became the tourism team. And they decided that they wanted 250 more people. They wanted to go back to the population of 1850. And they made their designs, their first designs. And then they made something that was very interesting. I told them, why don't you talk to each other? You've been talking to each other for 5 years. So don't stay in your team. Talk to other teams and steal their best ideas that help you. So the idea that the team is not a thing by itself, but is actually able to borrow and steal from other teams if it helps them. We did that actively. These people were then running around the table. And this is each team made about 2 or 3 versions. This is the versions 1, 2, and 3. They had to pick the best one. Then they had their 6 designs. And then they showed them 2 minutes each. And then we started to compare them. And we looked at the frequency of which people agreed on, and they had a high degree of potential agreement. A lot of people, these people have been thinking about this for years. How do we get more people? And then we did a sociogram, which says who wants to work with who, and everybody liked the agricultural team. So it really became the young people and the old people versus the developers-oriented people. It was a very interesting experience. And then they were able to compare and negotiate by a filtering system by system. So these maps are actually different, and they're able to negotiate by focusing on the issue of negotiation. They don't look at the whole design, they look at the pieces system by system. Makes it really easy to negotiate. And then eventually they said, this is what we agree on. That's our design. But there's the timeline and there's the budget that they did. This is all a 2-day workshop. There's the impact. But the most interesting thing at the end was they couldn't agree on the housing. There was no agreement. So these are all the housing sites that were proposed for development, but they simply couldn't agree. So we said, thank you very much. We've done 80% of the problem. Everybody's happy. Let's have a Guinness.
I was really pleasantly surprised by the ability and facility of all 30 participants in using this geodesign methodology and Hirishi's online platform. People who hadn't used computers in many years were sitting in teams designing into the computer and into the online platform. It's extremely easy to use, and this was proven by the fact that everybody was up and running within the first hour or two of the workshop. And the mixture of local community stakeholders, local authority members, and experts in landscape design, architecture, planning, wildlife and ecology were all pulling together as teams to create both the first evaluation and the change models. I suppose the main other positive outcome that I saw emerging from the process was that this is co-design in action. This is the community working, informed by experts and supported by the local authority through this methodology. And the methodology removes ego completely from the equation. No design is off the table. Everything is there to be tested and to be tested objectively through the methodology. Thirdly, because this isn't a consultative type of design, it's not top-down, it's not presented by the local authority and then responded to by the community. It's the community creating the design in a participatory context with the local authority and informed by experts. And this means that the community has ownership of these 6 designs that they came out with. They're their designs, and they're now there for them to be able to use, to debate in the wider local community, to take forward if they choose to do so. And because the design is based in this open source online platform, they can come back to them, they can tweak them, they can change slight parameters and revisit the models in the future. So I would think in all that the model has been extremely successful for Mulranny. It's the first time that geodesign was trialled in Ireland, and I would hope to see that it's the first of many such workshops that will take place.